Bonjour, it's Claire, and welcome, and thanks for listening to the Integrally Alive podcast, where we explore resilience and how to spark alive and go from alive-ish to alive. And today I'm with Tal Gur. Hi, Tal.
Hi,
Thanks for
hi.
being with us today.
Thank you for hosting me.
And my pleasure. And so Tal is an internet entrepreneur, is a coach, is a traveler, and a financial freedom enthusiast. In 2005, he asked himself what he would do if he would die within 10 years. And as a result of that, he made a bucket list of 100 big dreams to achieve in 10 years and a conscious decision to pursue these goals. So that led him to going from being $34,000 in debt to financial freedom, complete an Ironman Triathlon in New Zealand after quitting smoking, travel non-stop, build a new home for a family who lost everything in a mudslide in Peru, explored spirituality and tried a little 10 days Vipassana meditation in India. Oh, wow, party for 60 nights in a row. Learn Muay Thai, Kickboxing in Thailand, and many much more adventures. And it became a way of life to live on his own terms. He related this experience in a book, The Art of Fully Living, One Man, 10 Years, 100 Life Goals. So today we will talk about purpose, following your dreams, living fully, crisis, motivation, and going through pain. Yes. So I'm curious to know, how did it all begin? Because I guess for you to write this list and go for these dreams, you had to be in what I call alive-ish in some way. That's functionally alive, but not feeling completely alive, like something is missing or something like that.
Yeah, I call it half alive, or half living, basically, because the other extreme would be barely living, and sometimes barely living actually can trigger, that pain can trigger into fully living. So when you're half living, it's almost like there's some kind of comfort, right?
Yeah.
There's comfort zone, and you can be stuck there for the rest of your life, actually. And so I think most people are in half living, and the idea for me was to go into fully living, and that's why I kind of designed a journey, which you just shared a little bit of the things that I've done. But the main thing is the person you become. It's not necessarily the story or the title, but it's more of like who you become on that journey.
So who did you become? Who did you discover at the end of this journey?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
So what did you discover? Who did you become at the end of this journey that you weren't, or maybe you didn't know who you could be in the beginning?
Yeah, well, I'm still discovering. Yeah, I think it's a never-ending process.
Yep, I love that.
But you get clues. And one of the things that I learned about myself, that I'm a growth agent. I'm a pretty committed and determined growth agent, which means growth is a big value for me. I like getting out of my comfort zone. I would say expanding my comfort zone, not necessarily just getting. And also a change agent. And now, it's really more for me being of service rather than just like, let's say, taking care of myself in terms of my comfort or security or even like external success. So I became more of a contributor or a creator rather than just like, what's in it for me. So that's some things that I discovered along the way.
Yeah, well, I love to talk about this maybe later, because I want to go back to one thing that actually triggered my wanting to invite you on this podcast. When I saw you on stage at Freedom Max, and you were sharing your story, and one thing you said that few people actually share is, okay, you wrote this list and then you did nothing for, if I remember well, 1 year. And then the pain of doing nothing was bigger than any fear you could have, and you went after your dreams. And I really believe that every one of us, when we have a big vision, first we are scared about this, and we wait until the pain is bigger than the fears. So how did it happen for you? Am I right? It was 1 year, right?
Yeah, so I created a list, and then I mean, I wrote a list, and nothing happened for 1 year. I wrote a list on very close to my birthday, and so the next birthday kind of reminded me of my list. And you're right, I had a little bit of pain. The pain was basically I lived in Australia at the time, and I was kind of more of the immigrant slash student, and I didn't feel really connected to the country. It didn't really feel like home, and I knew that I need to go on a journey, like where, like, to create more of this home feeling. And that's really what drove me into like starting the list. And then I created like those almost kind of journeys, like where I basically divided it 2 years. I said a year of socializing, and then it was the year of fitness, where I could immerse myself in the journey rather than just like try a lot of things or go for a lot of mini goals. I would say, okay, I'll focus all my energy into one area of life, which is currently, I feel like, maybe the most pain I have, or what I'm most excited about, and grow from there.
Yeah. And I love this because, I mean, a lot of people talk about negative or positive emotions or feeling, and I really don't believe in that. I really believe there is no positive or negative, but it depends on what it means in your life. Like, even, for example, anger, a lot of people say it's a negative emotion. For me, it's a powerful drive in life. It can be. Like, if you think about anger as injustice, like Gandhi, for example, if he wasn't angry a bit of the situation in India, he would have done anything. The difference, though, is that he didn't do it in an angry mode. But his motive, I mean, his drive was definitely some kind of frustration in a way. And I heard you talk about this in, I don't remember. I think it was another podcast where you were sharing about creating our own crisis. So we have to change. So seeing crisis in a very different way than what we usually do, because we fear crisis usually.
Yeah, the title that I gave it, kind of from crisis to calling, where basically a crisis a lot of times is seen as a negative thing. And first of all, it's really good to acknowledge is that the crisis is usually you creating it, all right? It's creating within you. So there's external events, and then there's a judgment, our judgment about that. And so we can see it as a crisis as a negative thing, or we can see, okay, I am creating that crisis potentially in order to move in a certain direction, or to motivate myself to move in a certain direction, because something doesn't really feel right for me, or I'm not aligned with something. And then it can really lead to calling. And the thing about that kind of stuff is that, like, a lot of time you don't know what is the calling. And then you can be stuck in your mind, oh, wait a minute, but I don't know. I say you don't need to know. But just knowing that there is a calling behind it, and potentially you're going to figure it out later, you can already relax. So you don't necessarily need to figure it out when it happens, but again, like, just knowing that there is a gift behind it, and it will reveal itself if you're conscious enough about it, if you're creating enough space for it to come. Otherwise, you're just in a crisis mode, and you're not getting out of that, or you just go again back into safety and security, just trying to protect yourself, rather than like, oh, what can I learn? Where does it lead me? What is the change that needs to happen? And I think it actually can be a very positive thing.
Yeah, completely. And I truly believe that, so I completely agree with everything you said. And I also believe the more we do that, the more we see crises as agents of change, the less we need them. And the more we learn to listen to them, to acknowledge them, and they don't need to grow as much, so that we can see what's going to happen, and we're like, oh, okay, I have to do that. Better do it now than when it becomes like so big. I just don't have any other possibility than doing that.
I agree.
Yeah. So I'm curious. Often in this kind of story, and yours is a beautiful story. I mean, everything you achieved, like all this bucket list in 10 years. And I love that you focused on one thing each year. I found there is a lot of power in that. But it can give the impression that it's a kind of black and white thing, that, okay, before there was the Tal Gur who didn't believe in his big dreams and was living this half-life, as you were saying, and now there is 100% fully live, always, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So is it really black and white like this, or is it still?
Well, if you read the book, it's definitely not black and white. It has a lot of challenges along the way, and there's always learning. So the idea is that you have a direction, and the direction is like, okay, I want to fully live. I want to feel fully alive. And you may not get there, but just the journey to get there is already beneficial. So a lot of time, like, again, people, as you said, think in black and white. If I don't achieve fully living in every second moment, then maybe I'm failing.
Yeah.
But I don't see failure in the journey. I don't see a failure in going in the direction of your dreams. There's no failure. The failure may be you not taking action, or you like just stuck in this mode, or again, not taking action basically. And then, like, for me, success is basically go on a journey. No matter if you get what you set or not. I set a lot of goals where I failed as well, not getting them, but I went for it. You know what I mean? So that's, in my eyes, makes my journey successful. And even now, like, there's maybe times where I'm not feeling fully alive. And also, I don't have to be fully alive all the time, but this is the vision. This is what I aspire to. I feel pretty relaxed when I'm also like half living sometimes. And also when I go into a crisis mode where there's barely living, where I'm like, okay, something needs to change. But the character that I built in terms of like not freaking out or not like closing myself is the real deal. It's the character you build. It's the person you become, not like some idealized vision and just staying stuck there.
Yeah, I love that you say that the success is more than that. It's more who you become than what you do. And I definitely believe that it's more interesting to have a goal as a direction, like a signpost. I want to go there, and then let's see how it turns out. And maybe you will end up in a different direction, but the journey was really very great, and you grow. You grow in on the journey.
I have a story for you. I really have a story that I feel like sharing about that.
Please.
Sorry to cut you. So it's Freedom X where we met. There was this young woman, entrepreneur, who I met, and then she shared a story where she basically launched 8 businesses. So basically one after another, and so they all failed. And she had, I don't want to laugh at that, but she had tears in her eyes, and she's like, she saw herself as a failure, right? And I was like, you're 21, you launched 8 businesses, 8, and you could, and by the way, she's still launching, so she's launching, she's not stopping, and I'm like, this is extremely successful, like, in my eyes. And I almost, like, I told her, I'm imagining you like on Entrepreneur Magazine at some point, because I have no doubt you'll succeed, because you're not surrendering. You keep going in the direction of your dreams. Just like, again, the idea of like failure or success. And I think like just sharing it with her, like already like she felt a little bit more relaxed, and potentially like her journey could be more fulfilling. Because again, it doesn't matter if it's like exactly how she envisioned it to happen, but more again like this direction that she's walking on her path.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, you always learn something on the way. So it's always something that you have for the next one and the next one and the next one. So, and I'm really a big believer of resilience in life. Whatever you do, if you're ready to fail, and you know that it doesn't matter, and you will get up on your feet again, that's resilience, and it will allow you to do anything you want in life. Rather than, I'm too scared to start anything anyway. Well, you failed already before even trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually.
And so actually, you mentioned being of service, and that's a very big thing for me too, because I found the moment there was a moment recently in my life where I realized I thought I was being of service in what I was doing, but I was still doing it kind of for myself first. And then a very big event in my life, namely my brother committed suicide. And I had a kind of aha moment, and I realized, oh, actually, I think I'm being of service, but really I'm doing this for me, and it's helping people. And it's a very different thing. And there is such a powerful motivation, intrinsic motivation in when what you're going for is bigger than yourself. I feel like you'll become unstoppable. So do you share this feeling? What did change for you when you decided that? And actually, how did that happen?
How did I switch from more into
Yeah.
service?
Yeah.
First of all, I don't see it as black and white. So
Yeah.
in the sense that like it's not this is bad like when you're just like kind of selfish, and this is good when you're just like completely like don't even
Yeah.
think about yourself.
Yeah. Totally
Still,
agree.
it's again it's this direction. So my direction
Mm-mm.
is to use my let's say personal power or even like what I built for myself in the direction of service, rather than like just again just completely just focus on myself. So it's like it's together. It's those two. And if I think about the journey, for me it was like more thinking about the world as much, right? Like, so if I don't know, if I have a mansion and I don't know 10 cars or whatever, and yeah, I'm successful, great, I achieved like the pinnacle of growth. But that's not how I see it anymore. So it's you. So okay, it's great to build wealth. It's great to have external success, how I call it. But again, what do you do with that? Or it's even like freedom. All right, a lot of people are passionate about freedom. Okay, what do you do with your freedom? How do you use your freedom?
Mm-mm.
That's the important stuff for me right now. Where in the past I didn't think about it. All I cared is just okay, I just want to achieve freedom. That's it. And so just seeing yourself as an integral part of this world and almost like feel in some way responsible, especially when you do have influence, you do have ability to impact, then I feel like it's important. Now, how did it happen to me? Again, I got divorced, and during the divorce, I had to look at myself, and I realized that it's not enough anymore for me just to again like build my comfort kind of secure place in
Mm-mm.
the world. I had a lot of discussions with my ex-partner about that, and I have this really strong inner desire to contribute, so contribution. And so that also like determined like where I live in terms of location, because if I live in a little bubble island, let's say, I may not be able to contribute as much. So now, for example, I'm feeling like for example, even the location I choose, I try to be around my tribe. I try to be around like where I'm needed, and all of that. Even like speaking engagements. It's not anymore just like for my own sake, but it's also okay. I feel like I'm inspiring people or I'm contributing to the world. It's the feedback I get. So okay, great. Let's continue with that. I'm of service here. And that's like a different kind of mindset. So it's almost you do the same thing, but it's a different mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally resonate with that. It's the actions are exactly the same, but the mindset is different.
Yeah.
And actually, from what you share, and it's funny you mentioned this bubble island, and it's a reflection I had. I was living in Thailand for 2 years in a bubble island called Kopangan, and I decided to come back to Europe for a while. And part of this decision was that I felt that I was more needed there than in Copenhagen. So I can totally resonate with what you just shared.
I have to say, like, this is a topic that really current for me, like home and especially as being a digital nomad for a long
Mm.
time. And I have to say, the thing is, like, you can live on a bubble island, but it's like if you feel a strong desire to contribute in the world, it means that it potentially means that you may need to do some movement. So you can still live in a very relaxed and comfortable place, like sanctuary. You rejuvenate. You're around your tribe, conscious people, whatever. But then, like, your vision is elevating the world or contributing to the
Mm.
world in a meaningful way, in a conscious way. Otherwise, if you're just in the island and you just take care of yourself, okay, great. That's still great, yeah. But again, like if you have this inner desire to contribute, you may need to do some movements or some traveling or some speaking engagement or whatever it is that you contribute. Even writing books, yeah. Like I think this movement is important and not just feeling that, oh, okay, I solved my situation, I'm comfortable,
Yeah.
and life is, yeah, basically that.
Yeah. I feel if I see my experience and the experience of people around me, I see that once you achieve something, the next thing you want to do is actually contribute to other people in sharing, okay, I succeeded in doing that. I know you can do it as well. I'm no one special or anything. And actually, I
Well, very
believe,
special.
eh?
You're very special. It's like we are all special, yeah, in our own way, and
Yeah,
each, I think, look at it like that. But you're right, like, you know, you can do that as well if you really want to. Like, for example, I did an Ironman Triathlon. It's a big challenge, like fitness challenge, and I remember, like, you know, when I meet people who are really inspired about that journey, I go into like motivated. Okay, yeah, you can do that as well, or you can go there because you're so inspired, and that inspiration can drive you into action. Some people don't care about Ironman trial. Just like, you know, it's just a race or just whatever. Okay, great. You have maybe have something else that you want to grow into. But I feel is like, you know, it's really important to come from this place of humbleness, actually, right? Like that's how you said, like, not, you're not special, or in that sense. But maybe, like, again, this balance between heroism. Okay, I'm going into my hero journey,
yeah.
but in a humble way, which means
Yes.
is like you can do it as well, and others can do, and you can inspire others, and like just kind of like almost again elevating other people so they go to their full potential. Because like the reason I mention it is because the other alternative would be like you downgrading yourself in some ways into like, you know, it's nothing, it's not important or something like that. I don't see it like that. I see it like, if you really inspired about something, yes, like come. Yeah, that's basically what I feel.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like contribution is kind of maybe a need of humans. And I see many people, how can I say that? Yeah, I think contribution is a need of everyone, actually, but many believe they kind of don't have anything to contribute and trap themselves in this that, oh, I would like to contribute in some way. I feel I'm not meaningful. But then at the same time, I don't have anything to contribute, so I'm not kind of worth it or something like this. Do you see that?
I think at any stage in your life, you are potentially one step ahead of someone in something. So you already know something that maybe someone else doesn't know. You already figured something about yourself that maybe you can, I mean, the problem is a lot of time people are really compare themselves to like people who are like, I don't know, maybe 100 steps ahead of themselves. And it's almost like feeling like, even for example, I wrote a book, yeah? If I compare myself to someone who sold 1,000,000 copies, I was like, okay, I'm a failure, right? I don't feel this book really contributing. Rather than like just focus on like the contribution you already make or the book already makes, and that's actually again a different mindset. So I feel like again a lot of people they don't feel they're expert or they're good enough in something, and I say you're already good enough to help someone. And it doesn't have to be like even doing, it could be just your presence. If you, for example, a happy, alive person, you are already making an impact. You are already contributing. You may not see that, but you're doing that with your presence. And it's good to be conscious about it, because when you're conscious about it, it makes it more real for you and for the other person. And again, like, you don't have to compare yourself so much, I feel. Just like feeling that what you're doing or the state you're being is worthy enough for maybe, you know, the person around you or for the planet.
Yeah, completely. It reminds me of this, you know, being unconsciously competent or consciously competent and so on. So when you become consciously competent, that's when you acknowledge what you're doing, then you can help other people achieving that.
And you are an expert enough. That's basically another term I use. Like, you're an
Yes.
expert enough. Right now, like, you potentially can help someone. Like, even like, I remember, like, you know, I spoke with someone about Bitcoins. And even if you just know a little bit about Bitcoins, what are the main marketplaces, let's say, you potentially can help, like, I don't know, 90 whatever percent of the population who has no idea about it, or like completely rejecting it. Yeah. And so that could be potential business, or it could be potential conversation or contribution, basically.
Yeah, completely. Once you master something, you just forget that one day you were asking yourself, what is this thing? And then you think you don't have anything new to add to the conversation, but actually you do a lot.
But the way I see it is that you don't have to be a master. You don't have to be a master in order to contribute. You're already, again, one step ahead of someone in something. And that is great. And then, grow for mastery. I mean, I'm all about mastery. But mastery, as you know, may take years, may take even a lifetime. And, you know, I would not write my book if I thought that, like, you know, okay, I'm not like a good writer. I'm good enough right now for that type of book. You know, I'm like, I spend a lot of energy in it. Like, I hired 3 editors. Great. That's enough. That's already a contribution for me.
Yeah, relative expert. I love what you say about being expert enough. And actually, we are talking about success a lot. How would you define success? What is success to you?
So we can look at it on the other way. Yeah? What is failure?
Okay.
Failure is not, for me, is not taking action in the direction of your dream or direction of your calling or inspiration, however you want to see it. So that would be failure. So what would be success? The opposite. Taking action in the direction of your dream, taking action in the direction of, you know, of your calling, being courageous, actually. So operating from, a lot of people, you know, they just really feel the need to go to a state of fearlessness. But I say, no, fear is actually, like, sometimes it tells you that's the direction. Because how can you be courageous without fear?
Yeah.
There's no courage without fear. And that's basically how I feel about it. My dreams, they never end. Like, I mean, there's always, like, something, like, for me, like, to grow into. And it's beautiful. I love it. That's why I mean, when you ask me, like, what did I figure out about myself, is I realized, okay, I'm a growth agent. Like, I love growth. It will never end. Great. For the rest of my life, even when I'm, I don't know, 90, if I reach this age, I can still grow. And I love it. Some people don't have this desire, great. But for me, this is the person I am, and potentially I can contribute as a growth agent, as a coach, as a writer, as, like, whatever, a supporter. There's many ways to contribute.
Yeah, I love that. Makes me think about what a friend called the astronaut syndrome. Like, you know, from your childhood, you wanted to become an astronaut, and you have this long study, and you put a lot of energy into being an astronaut. And someday you are an astronaut, and you get to the moon, and then you come back to the Earth, and you're like, okay, what's next? And I feel like some people have maybe fear to go after their dreams because they are fearing that, okay, and what's next? When I will have, you know, achieved these 10 goals, what will I do? And wow, there's always more. Like, the first step you take, like, you see so much more than what you could see before. So I'm totally online with what you say. Growth is, by definition, growth never stops. You cannot stop growing.
Yeah. I want to add to what you just said, that, like, you can play different games as well. So, for example, let's say you made $1 billion, all right? So you can say, okay, the next step would be to make around $10 billion, but maybe it's not growth enough anymore for you. And growth would be to go into service. Actually, giving that $1 billion would be actually like potentially growth for you. So again, there's different games to play, and it's really important to see where you are, like, and align yourself like with what's like, you know, really calling you. It may not be any more external success. It may be inner success, something more deep, actually. So the person who went to the moon, maybe now is like the journey is to go deep inside of himself and not like so out. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, actually. And I deeply believe to grow, like a lot of times when you see these bucket lists, it's all about doing. But I love to put being things on the bucket list as well. And I deeply believe anyway, what you do is showing out what you are. So if you change who you are, you might as well ending doing what you really want, but it just happens organically at that time.
Yeah, I have to say something about that, about the being and doing. It's together, right? It's the doing component, all right? Sometimes, again, it's just a framework. It's just a story. It's just a goal. I believe in goals. Otherwise, I wouldn't set so many goals. But it's the person you become to the goal, which matters. So the being is more important than doing for me. But the doing is still necessary in some ways because, again, you have a target. Okay, that's where I'm heading. You have a direction, you know? And you also be flexible to change the direction, which is important. But in general, it's good to have a direction. And that's what a goal provides. Also, a goal is something you can measure as well. And it gives you, like, you know, I see a lot of benefits in that as well. But it's blending the two together.
Yeah, definitely. And you talked earlier about expanding your comfort zone. And I think it's a very big step on the way of living on purpose. I mean, if it's needed to do anything new, right? If your goal is within your comfort zone, then it might not be the real goal that you want to go after.
Yeah. Well, potentially you can say, I want to be just in my comfort zone in the next few months, just because I want to relax. It's good, you know, to rejuvenate, whatever. But again, if you have like an inner desire to grow, then it's good to get out of your comfort zone because there's a lot of benefits there in terms of like learning about yourself, contributing. I like the term expanding rather than just getting out of your comfort zone, because that's what you do, really. Because once you're out of your comfort zone, potentially you expand it to expand it even more. Nothing wrong about being comfortable, actually, nothing wrong. It's just, again, if you have this desire to expand, okay, it's good to listen to it.
Yeah, I love what you say about expanding. And you're totally right. Like it's interesting to find a balance between expanding, and then resting is also important. And in the moment we rest, usually we need that time to integrate what just happened as well.
Potentially, yeah.
So do you think we have to go through crisis to evolve? Can we just be happy?
Well, if the goal is happiness, that's a completely different conversation, right? For me, the goal is not necessarily happiness. The goal is not happiness for me. Happiness is the place it's my, what's the word? It's the foundation state, all right? I don't necessarily need to achieve anything to be happy.
Yeah.
I can be happy right now in the crisis. So for me, like, again, the goal is more around growth, around inspiration, around fulfilling the purpose you're here to do. And you can do that happy, and you could do it unhappy. I think like choosing happiness would be a better way. But also I see value from time to time, as you said, like to choose maybe anger or to choose unhappiness. But it's good to be conscious about it. The difference is, like, I feel between a lot of people in terms of their state of being is how conscious they are about what's happening. So for example, you can be conscious about the fact that you are creating the anger, and nothing outside of you creating the anger. That already put you in a completely different place. You're not a victim anymore. You're not saying, oh, you made me angry, which basically you're just giving your power away and say, oh, you have the power on my emotions. And rather than that, you can say, I make myself angry because of you or because of this event. And that's a completely different mindset again. And the consciousness level can be really important in terms of where you're heading after that. So I can say, okay, I can minimize my unhappiness. I learned the lesson. I understand why I'm creating unhappiness. And right now I can go back into the state of happiness. People who are depressed usually are just, they stuck in this loop of like being unhappy about their unhappiness. Usually, again, I don't want to generalize here. And they just basically don't get out of the loop. Rather than like saying, okay, I'm unhappy, and accept it, learn from it, and use it to move to wherever they want to move. And then again, go back to happiness. And also, like, another thing that I say about happiness is a big topic for me.
Yeah.
It's like you can really, a lot of people have high standards for the happiness, which means like, if this and this and this happen, then I'll be happy. I say, like, downgrade it. You know, if you're alive, for example, if you're breathing, that's a pretty great thing, no? And or I don't know, like, if I have the basic stuff, you know, I have a shelter or whatever, I can already, like, you know, I don't necessarily need to put such a high standard for that. So actually downgrade that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things in what you just said. I love what you distinguish between crisis and happiness. I totally agree that you can be going through a crisis and be happy at the same time. And it does all to do with awareness and how you can experience something and be the observer of this situation at the same time, and not being into this life is happening to me kind of victim mode. I totally agree on that. And what you just said actually reminds me of like so gratitude is really I kind of have a love-hate relationship with gratitude. It's a great thing, but it became this fluffy, hairy, bunny rainbow thing, which really put me on my nerves sometimes. But for example, I had dengue at some point in my traveling in Indonesia, in a tiny island. Basically, I was dead alive for 10 days, laying on my bed, couldn't do anything. I was alone, no help. So that was a very, became a kind of mystical experience for me. And at the end of that, only the bare fact that I was living, that I was breathing, that I could move, when I could move for the first time, it was like, wow, I can move. And nowadays I'm moving and I'm not, I lost this sense of gratitude in that. But I remember I made a kind of pact to myself at that point to remember the things that we take for granted that are actually not. And we lose a lot of that. And it reminds me of one post I read from you, the time you were bitten by a snake, and you were grateful just to be able to breathe in air, right?
Yeah, you realize when you're really close to death, you realize what's really important in your life, and air is one of them. Yeah. I remember, like, you know, when the snake bit me and I was like really getting into more of like, again, this darkness and like not able to breathe. I remember like I had a thought of like, what was I even like, why I was so worried about all of these things before. It was like, I was just like, suddenly nothing was important, nothing. Just like, you know, my consciousness or like, you know, just being present to breathing. That was like the most important thing. Like my clothes even, I didn't care. Well, I didn't even care how, because, you know, they took off my clothes. I didn't care even how I was seen. You know what I mean? Like what other people thought about me when I was in the ambulance and puking and everything. I was just like really trying to like live. And that's I mean, I got that reminder from the snake, but but potentially you can actually get that reminder. There's many ways to get that reminder. Yeah, even just surrounding with in the right environment of empowered people in order to give you that reminder.
Yeah, totally true. I found that facing death, being your death or the death of someone you love, or it's always but it's something that you cannot avoid, you cannot hide from. So it might be the most powerful way to remember what it is to be alive. But I totally agree with you that there are many ways, like in our daily life, we can harness this feeling of, hey, I want to be alive. I want to be fully alive, not like you say, half-lived.
I want to share something in my meditation. So I meditate every morning, and actually, in my meditation, I am like for a little bit of time, I stop breathing. Like I stop breathing. I hold my breath, and it's a reminder for me how it's important. Like not just like important to live, but also like in so many other ways. So that's, I would say, top of my list. You ask me what's really important? Breathing. Then what do you want? Love in your life? Love? Okay, then that's next. So what do you want? Like a new car? Okay, there's a hierarchy of importance. And happiness can be really like, very much, again, as I said, lower it to a point of like, I'm alive, therefore I'm happy. That's a good rule to be alive.
Yeah. I really believe that we have to. But I will share a personal stories about my brother, the one who committed suicide. He had this list of what he needed to be happy, and the list was kind of long, but it was not or. It was and. So I need a house and a girlfriend and this job, not another job, this precise job, and. And to me, that was not a recipe to be happy. That was a recipe to be unhappy. Because you then, oh yes, you have this job. Yeah, but I don't have the house. I don't have the. So you never can feel fulfilled. Whereas, as you say, when you can see, hey, I'm breathing, I'm alive.
I think again, it's a psychological thing. Like, so people use unhappiness to motivate themselves to grow, because if they're just happy all the time, they may not do anything. They might not go for the house. But I challenge that. I tell people, you know what? See, try. I believe, like, people will still go for the house, like from a state of having maybe even more powerful, even more powerful than like just using unhappiness. Also, I think, like, again, the language that society used is completely wrong in my eyes. Like, they tell you, figure out what makes you happy. And I say nothing outside of yourself makes you happy. Nothing. It's a wrong language. You and only you choose and decide to be happy. That's it. And you can use an event and, again, create a rule for yourself, but this rule is actually taking you further from happiness, because you just created a barrier. You created a barrier for happiness. You did the opposite. Again, like it's practicing or experimenting. And I like the word experimenting with going after your goals from a place of happiness and not for happiness.
I love that. So I'm in love with the word experimenting. To me, life is experimentation.
And don't listen to me. Experiment. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, don't listen to us or me. Experiment.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And as you say, well, like, if you're experimenting with this mindset of I love being present to the moment and enjoying what you're doing, then you don't, I mean, success, failure, it becomes really relative.
Yeah.
But
it's really, I think, first of all, define the goal. Like, what is really important for you? Happiness it is, okay, just reduce the barrier. You can achieve happiness very quickly. You don't need the house. You don't need almost anything to be happy.
Yeah. Well, Actually, I
Point.
was relative to this list that my brother, he shared it to my mother one day, and he said, "Yeah, you see, I want this, that, and that, and that, and I have none of that. So that's why I'm so unhappy." And she was sharing this to me after he passed away, and it shocked me. Like everything on this list, I don't have it. I don't need it to be happy. So it's not that he had or hadn't that. It was the desire he was attached to that made him unhappy, not the fact that he had something or not. So it's really about our mindset. Totally. I'm interested in what to say about downgrading your happiness, because some people struggle with that. Like they say, okay, but then you're happy with crappy things, kind of like you're downgrading your happiness. It was
Well, no, you don't downgrade your standards of living or your standards in general.
Yes.
You downgrade the barriers to happiness.
Yeah.
So you remove the barriers to happiness. You can still like have a high standards or high goals, let's say, but the happiness, like you separate it basically. It's not now about the happiness. It's about something else. Maybe fulfillment, maybe contribution, maybe something else. I don't call it happiness anymore. For me, again, I want to achieve my goals from a place of happiness.
Yeah.
And I have big goals. You know what I mean? Like it's not that like I downgraded my standards of living in any way.
You definitely have big goals. Yeah. But and I totally resonate with you that happiness comes anyway for being who you want to be and having you doing according to who you are. And it doesn't, it's not about a list or whatever you can have. And I love something you said in your blog, or something about surrender, and maybe you can explain what is a goal to you. Like, if I understand well, you will agree that it's not so much about the goal, but if it turns out that in the end it's taking you somewhere else where you can surrender to that and grow even bigger in this.
Yeah, because a lot of time, again, you anticipate a certain vision you want to create or future, and life has its own, way, and it brings you challenges or different things that you expected. And then you have two choices, really. One is resisting it, and say, no, I don't accept it. And two is actually like surrendering to it. Now, a lot of time people feel surrendering is a negative thing because you give up on your dream. I don't see it as giving up on your dream. You basically accept that that's what happened, and new information came, and now you can still go back into your dream, but maybe even from an empowered place. But you're not resisting life. Life is here, and it's not gonna. The events that coming to you, you don't have a lot of control, but like the control you really have is like the mindset you have when whatever happens. And that's basically where I anchored myself. I still go after my dreams, but I'm surrendering to what actually is happening in terms of accepting even, like, for example, I can feel right now unhappy about maybe the internet connection that, like, or maybe about my interview, or maybe something, I don't know, I don't, then I can like really resist that, like, and be, or I can just accept it. Okay, that's just what happened. And I can learn from it. I can really go back into like the direction of my dreams. It's not like giving up. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Surrendering is not giving up.
Yeah.
It's just acceptance.
Yeah, amen to that. So what would be purpose for you then?
Yeah. What would be purpose?
Purpose, because you're big on living your life on purpose and going after your goals and dreams. So what is purpose for you?
Well, it can change, So I think for me right now, purpose is again being on my path, right? Being on, and it's a little bit fluffy. It's a bit, it's hard to define what's your path. But, a lot of time you feel internally when you off your path, all right? And, I can think about life as everything is random. So it's just happening to me and I have complete, or like feel that this is more of a guiding universe, all right? Where you constantly guided like into your path, or even like, I would say who you are in your essence. Once you know who you are in your essence, you know why you're here, and you can be more purposeful about the actions you take. All right. And so I think the first purpose is actually like, again, to be who you are in that sense, the state of being, and operate from that place. And then again, the external purpose or external goals could be a reflection of that. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I love that. And would you say because a lot of people would say, okay, learning and being who you are, but who I am, who am I? And to me, I found out the more I experiment in life, the more it gives me feedbacks about who I am. And it's my way to actually discover who I am, or remember, if you want, who I am. What do you think of that?
I have a lot of thoughts around that topic. Because again, like if I look at like, again, the general sayings in society, whatever, it's usually people say, I am whatever, Israeli, or I am American, I am a lawyer. So they attach identity to the function or the job title, which again, this language is basically lock them in a box. I feel.
I totally agree.
I like listen to the way I define it, it's almost like I am a growth agent. All right, it's a little bit more I would say broad. So right now my identity, I broaden it rather than just like, let's say, put myself in a box. I am Israeli. Wait a minute, I can also be Australian. I can be also potentially, I can get like a citizenship, and so I can be all of that. I'm expanding. So it's not really that I'm Israeli or Australian. I don't see it anymore in that way. And I see it more in my essence. That's what I call it. My essence, which could be like certain values that I hold that has been consistent in my life, that almost haven't changed and potentially will never change. Because I'm still keep my definition of who I am open, because it's continuously I reveal, and then potentially I'm in continuously learn more and more and more about who I am. It's just really peeling layers of who I am. So right now, my little definition, which is also limiting myself, is like, okay, I have a very strong essence of growth. And potentially, if there's more people like that have this essence of growth, like very strong, okay, I can say I'm part of the tribe, rather than, let's say, I'm part of the tribe of nationality. When you look at nationality, sometimes you look at the people, like everyone's so like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And people try to group themselves in a way that I feel like is very, very, very limiting. So the grouping is important, I feel, but that's a complete another conversation.
Yeah, and
who's your tribe?
Yeah. We're getting to the end of this conversation, but I love what you say about knowing your values. And for me, when I experiment something, it shows, okay, what's important to me. It's not about the doing, but what motivates me to do that. And then I find what's really important to me, and it's a value that really I need to act on. So it's important to me. And I love that
Think about values that have never changed in your life. Like, so the consistent, that usually give clues, like better clues of who you are. So again, I give the growth component, but like it may be like caretaking. Like if you're like constantly have like value of caretaking, it may provide some clues or a glimpse into who you are. Who you are is like really deep. You know what I mean? We can talk about it.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you can say about like I'm the consciousness who actually even perceive what I'm actually just saying, right? And there's a lot of ways to look at it, but from a more simplistic way, is kind of look on consistent values that has never changed, and you even can almost like admit to yourself may never change in the future as well, because it's just so consistent.
Yeah, completely. So, what is one thing you wish someone told you back when you were struggling in Melbourne, just before you wrote this bucket list, that maybe would have spared you a few years or a few months of struggling?
To be honest, I don't have an answer for that. Like I completely accept my struggles
I love
and
that.
pain that I suffer. I mean, it's almost a paradox because,
Yeah.
okay, I would say that. I wish someone told me that I don't have to suffer so much in order to get into a certain realization.
Mm.
But the paradox is I needed to suffer in order to get to this realization. That's why I accept that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I don't necessarily need to go to such unhappiness in order to change or yeah, I don't have to get there. But again, I had to learn it in a different way. See what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, I actually love this answer because yeah, you're right. We learn so much about every struggle we have, and we need to go through the struggle to learn it.
Well, now I learned that I don't need to go into the struggle. That's what I learned. But in order to learn that, I had to go through the struggle.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Like, so yeah, like again, the idea of like from crisis to calling, like, so there's a crisis and you can be almost in a Zen mode, all right? Like with the crisis, just because you know there's a gift behind it.
Yeah. To me, it comes back to differentiate between pain and suffering. And many people just see both of the same. But for me, there is pain, and pain is kind of unavoidable in life. It's part of life, and it's normal. And then you can suffer from that pain by attaching yourself to it or putting many meanings on top of that. And then it becomes suffering, and it can last for a very long time, actually.
I would say you can also enjoy pain. So that's another story. All right?
Yeah, let's keep it for another conversation.
I mean, think about Ironman Triathlon. Again, it's like you're in
Yeah.
constant state of pain. I mean, you're actually pushing yourself to pain.
Yeah.
And some people again think it's like crazy, but I think pain again can be a really good teacher.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily just judge it as a bad thing. You know, it's like it can be useful, it can be not useful. So it's really like again perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's totally the importance is the meaning we attach to it, and then from that we can grow out of it, or we can suffer out of it.
Yeah.
So my last ritual question: what makes you alive? What makes you feel alive?
What makes me alive? Nothing makes me. I mean,
makes you feel alive.
I think like again, just surrendering into life, accepting, just like really being present in this moment. I feel alive. I mean, it's not an external event. It's not another person. It's just basically again like bringing everything back into this moment and surrendering. I feel alive.
Surrendering.
I feel like talking to you.
Love that. Yes, enjoying every moment, right? Okay, so where listeners, where can they find you?
I think if they really want to find me, they will find me. So Google is a good place. Just Google.
Okay, we'll still put some links on the on this page, and you will also be speaking next weekend at DNX in Lisbon. What will be the subject of your presentation?
I do speak now. Actually, topic of giving first.
Giving first.
Mm-hmm. So
Great.
a lot of people, I feel like would come for something, but the main topic that I'm gonna talk about is the idea of giving first and how it's really useful for building a business as well and for many other areas of life.
Great topic. I'll be there. Wow. Well, thank you, Tal, for being with us today, for sharing your story wisdom. It was really interesting and enjoyable. And I'm sure listener will take valuable insight from this conversation. So thank you very much for taking the time to be here. And thank you. Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. If you like what you hear, leave a comment on the blog, subscribe to the podcast. If you're going to DNX2, come say hello to me. If not, until next time, and until then, spark alive and be integrally alive. Bye.